As far as amphibians go, they're fascinating to look at. But this illicit cargo should have "handle with care" written all over it, because these animals are harlequin frogs, aka poison frogs, a critically endangered species whose skin is highly toxic. 130 of these animals were recently seized at an airport in the Colombian capital of Bogotá. Police say a Brazilian woman was arrested for illegally transporting them, hidden in film jars in her luggage. The suspect reportedly said the frogs had been given to her by a local community. If they're sold illegally, police say they can go for $1,000 each. But these frogs, which were not in good health, are set to be rehabilitated at a Colombian wildlife center and then returned to their native habitat in the southwestern part of the country. Hi, I'm Azuz. Always great to have you watching the world from A to Z. There's a property developer in China that has more debt than any other organization in the business. Its name is Evergrande. It owes investors $328 billion. Just 6 years ago, it was the most valuable real estate company in the world, according to National Public Radio. But Evergrande took on more than it could handle. The company pre-sold many of the apartment homes it was building. As its debt grew, Evergrande became unable to finish these apartments, and their values declined. That's a major problem in a nation where most of the wealth people have is in real estate, like apartments. The company's debt is so high and its financial situation is so bleak that a court in Hong Kong just ordered that its assets would be sold to pay people back some of what they're owed. But why does all this matter to investors and observers outside China? Well, this nation's economy is the second largest in the world, behind that of the US. Debt has been increasing across China's economy, its growth has been slowing down, its workforce has been shrinking as its population has decreased. If the Evergrande collapse becomes a drag on the broader Chinese economy, it could have ripple effects around the world because other economies, like that of America, are so closely tied into what happens with China. Could being the key word. None of this is set in stone. Even with the court order from Hong Kong, a special administrative region of China, it's not clear if the mainland Chinese government will follow the order and actually force Evergrande to liquidate. So that's up in the air. But the size of the company and the impact it's had on China are reasons why this is being closely watched.
World of knowledge. Which of these nations was established as a kingdom in the year 321 BC? Armenia, Egypt, Iran, Thailand. Though it's not the oldest civilization on this list, the CIA World Factbook says Armenia was first established as a kingdom in 321 BC.
An ancient history in an ancient part of the world with some ancient architecture. But restoring that architecture the old-fashioned way requires research, patience, and some trial and error. The bricks originally used here were mixed by hand and dried in the sun. They have to be positioned at an angle, and it can't be windy outside or else they can crack. All this is why rebuilding ancient sites has to be done painstakingly, brick by brick.
The bricks we use today have been fired in a kiln or furnace. But students in Armenia are rediscovering the art of bricks hardened by nature's furnace, the sun. Mixing clay with different measurements of sand, straw, and water, students from an Armenian university are working to recover an ancient brick formula.
We are now trying to understand the structure and composition of the mud brick of the Urartian period.
The kingdom of Urartu existed during the Bronze and Iron Ages. It spanned modern-day Armenia, as well as parts of Turkey and Iran. This brick wall belonged to one of the world's most ancient fortresses there. Its ruins are located in the center of Armenia's capital, Yerevan, and one of its most famous tourist sites.
The fortress was built around 782 BC by the Urartian king Argishti I. He called the fortress Erebuni.
Many of the original clay bricks used to build the castle have survived to this day, but it's in need of some TLC. Past restoration efforts used something resembling concrete or similar materials and were noticeably different. So, their solution? At centuries-old excavation sites, they're taking clay once used to make ancient building blocks, and in doing so, hope to make the new bricks as much like the original as possible.
On this date in world history. This was the date in 1865 when Congress passed the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. That amendment would abolish slavery in the United States, but it still had to be ratified by 3/4 of those states to become the law of the land. That happened later that year on December 6th. January 31st, 1876 was when the U.S. government ordered all Native Americans to move to reservations, warning that if they didn't, they'd be considered hostile. This was one of a series of events in an ongoing struggle over land between white settlers and Native Americans, many of whom had been forced to leave their homes. The Battle of Little Bighorn and U.S. military campaigns against Native Americans would follow. Something else that's making history: ticket prices for this year's Super Bowl, which is set to be played on Sunday, February 11th. TickPick, an online ticket sales site, says the previous record for prices was set in 2020 when the average ticket went for more than $6,300. This year, the get-in price, which is the cheapest ticket available for Super Bowl 58, has far exceeded that.
Super Bowl 58 is set. The San Francisco 49ers taking on defending Super Bowl champs, the Kansas City Chiefs. Fan enthusiasm soaring, and so are ticket prices. As of Monday morning, the get-in price was $8,188, which is 51% more expensive than the get-in price for the Super Bowl this time last year. According to StubHub, the most expensive ticket listed is more than $85,000 and includes a VIP package. With the Super Bowl being hosted in Las Vegas, that too could drive up prices since it's a major tourist destination. And there's no denying that Taylor Swift's presence at this year's big game will also impact the prices as she cheers on her boyfriend, Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce. The singer has already helped break NFL viewership records. Last week's playoff game between the Chiefs and the Bills was the most watched divisional playoff game in history. Airlines are also seizing on the hype. American Airlines and United both adding special flights between Kansas City and Las Vegas with special flight numbers like 1989, a nod to the year Swift was born and her most popular album. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Stars at night are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas. That's where we heard from Miss Van's class at Newman Smith High School. It's in the city of Carrollton. Next, to the Pacific Wonderland of Oregon. We're excited to be part of your day at the Youth Build program. It's part of the Heart of Oregon Corps in the City of Sisters.
Researchers say this could be the first ever video of a newborn great white shark in the wild. Taken off the coast of California, it shows the aquatic animal shedding a pale film, which they believe is the baby's embryonic layer, suggesting the shark was merely hours old when it was caught on camera. The size and shape of the shark are also indicative of a newborn. Surprisingly, very little is known about where great white sharks give birth, so this could be a major breakthrough for science.
What's more picturesque than a flight of multicolored hot air balloons rising over the mountains? A flight of multicolored hot air balloons rising over the Swiss Alps. This is the 44th International Hot Air Balloon Festival. It just wrapped up this week in a community of Western Switzerland. One of the pilots involved said flying here is the greatest blessing he could ask for in his ballooning career.
Flying in a balloon, there isn't turbulence. It's like the Earth moves away from you versus you moving away from it.
All those pilots get so fired up, like basket cases, and it's obvious why people look up to them. Once they're roped in and hooked on ballooning, they think it's a gas. They all seem to get good altitudes, and all they want to do is rise up, even if all they do up there is look down on people. I'm Carl Azuz for The World from A to Z, and it means the world to have you watching.